motivate yourself. I used to just, stride in my room giving pep talks to myself, to tell myself that, you have done your best, and now you have done your job, and now it's no point being stressed about the outcome. So I think actively dealing with that will also help you prepare your mind for the day of the exam. Because on the day when you get up, you're already, tachycardic, you are sweating, and you are very anxious. So we have to actively try to make that mindset into a positive one.
Hello everyone, welcome to Criminality with Toppers, an initiative and academy. Recently, NEET PG results were announced. A lot of you might have known कि बहुत सारे toppers हैं जो एक particular city से आए हैं. Yes, you guessed it right. We are in the city of Baroda. And आज मैं बात करने वाला हूँ पुण्या मुरलीधर से, जिन्होंने रैंक 11 हासिल किया है NEET PG 2023 में. Hi Punya.
Hi, thank you.
First of all,
much.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
How does it feel to get a double-digit rank in NEET 2023?
It feels amazing. It feels like my dream finally came true, and I feel really, really grateful and happy that it happened.
That's great. So, how's the moment at your home right now?
Everybody's very happy, very excited, very proud, and yeah, it's like I always imagined it would be.
Great. So, you're a family of doctors?
Yeah, that is true.
Okay. So, can you give us a background about your education and your family background?
Yeah. So my parents, Dr. B.L. Muralidhar and Dr. Jikisha Muralidhar, and even my sister, Dr. Venu Muralidhar, they are all ophthalmologists. They're practicing here only in Baroda, but we're originally from Bangalore. My father is from Bangalore.
So you have been dreaming about being a doctor since your childhood?
I was not dreaming as such to be a doctor, but it was what I just went with the flow. It was what I expected to be, because that's what I had seen growing up. So I just went with the flow and took up medicine. But I think I actually found my passion for the subject when I entered MBBS in the dissection hall, when I started to know about the intricate ways in which the human body functions. I was actually fascinated. So I think that's when I found my interest and passion in the subject.
Okay. So basically, we'll start from the NEET UG part. So how is your NEET UG and how different is it from NEET PG?
In NEET UG, I felt that I was still very immature. So I don't think I had put my best in the examination. And that was one of the biggest regrets that I always had. Because I had always been a good student up until, I think, 11th grade. I was doing well in my examinations. I was really interested in other extracurricular activities as well. But in my 11th, I was preparing for my board examinations well. But in my batch, they had this new NEET PG, NEET UG, was introduced from my batch itself. So I think that took a really big toll on me. Till then, I was working for my state board examinations, and then suddenly in my 12th, I realized now I have to give a whole different examination, competing with a whole different group of people. So I think that derailed my preparation a lot. And in that phase, I felt I procrastinated a lot, and I didn't work as hard as I should have. So even my results, I think, suffered. But at the end, I got to the college where I was always hoping to get. So I'm very grateful for that. I got in my city college at Baroda Medical College. So it all worked out, but this time in the NEET PG, I was very focused that I don't want to make the same mistakes that I had made in NEET UG.
Let's discuss about your college life. So first year till 5th year of college life, how was it, and what is the moment like?
So when you enter college in the first year, you just spend that year, I think, orienting yourself to the world of medicine. Because till now you have just studied those 3 subjects, biology, physics, chemistry, and coming from that, to studying subjects like anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry, which are very, very vast and maybe bigger than all 3 subjects combined of 12th, is a very big change. When you enter the dissection hall, the first time you see a cadaver, those moments you will never forget. And for me, I had the best time in the first year, because I actually was introduced to this world of medicine through my teachers, through their lectures, through actually getting to dissect on a human cadaver. So all that really fascinated me. And I found my passion for the subjects in my first year.
So any particular moment that you remember of your college, which struck a lot in your mind?
Particular moment, I think the first time you see a cadaver is a moment every student always remembers. And also that was, for me, at least in the first year, that was the moment I will remember, when the first time we were all gathered in the dissection hall and expected to dissect on the cadaver. So I think that was something that I will always remember, at least from my first MBBS.
Great. So there's a myth that doctors usually don't enjoy much in life. They completely dissolve themselves in studies. Is it a truth or is it a myth?
No, I'm pretty sure we also enjoy a lot, because then the second year came in. I think in the second year, all of the medical students can relate that it's a year that everybody has fun. And that's what I've heard. And I had a lot of fun in my second year as well. We had conducted a lot of activities in my college, and I also had the opportunity to conduct the TEDx of MS University Baroda with my friend Athar. So that was also a really good experience. Then I also had done a research which got approved by ICMR with my friend Astha Meet. And that was also an amazing experience to get into the world of research. So second year, I think half of it I just spent around, exploring other hobbies of mine. But then again, we went back to the main subjects, pathology, pharmacology, microbiology, and forensic medicine, because those are the most important subjects of your entire MBBS. I feel they form the base of your MBBS.
Okay, so that's about second year. How was your third year?
Third year was when the lockdown started. So that had a whole different experience in third year. I think that was the year where I actually started preparing for NEET PG. That's when I think I grew a lot mentally, because I started to realize what I wanted from my life, and I started to actually see myself 5 years ahead and see what I wanted to do, and realize that I didn't want to make the same mistake that I had made in NEET UG, and start to actually seriously prepare for the exam. So I think along with dealing with the lockdown, doing COVID duties, that's when I actually started to form my preparation for NEET PG and started to study for it as well.
Okay, so you mentioned about doing COVID duties and following many other things that as a medical profession that you follow about. So basically, can you tell us what does it feel like to be a medical student? And for those who don't know, for example, let's say like NEET aspirants who are preparing for NEET PG right now, what message would you like to give them?
I think it's the right path for you if, first of all, you like to study, because it requires a lot of dedication. Secondly, if you like to know about the human body, I feel if you have a little interest about it, only then can you spend your whole life learning about it. And thirdly, I feel that it has a little noble aspect to it also, and most of the people who enter into the profession get to experience that feeling once they start working. For me, I think I had that moment during my COVID duties, as I said, where the first time you experience dealing with the patient, having the responsibilities, thrusted upon you of taking care of patients. The first time you see your first mortality, the patient pass away in front of you. So all those moments, I think, make you realize that this is more than just a profession. You need to have a certain ethics associated with it. You need to have a certain responsibility associated with it. And the feeling that you get to make an impact on a person's life in a positive way is a feeling of a lot of satisfaction, yet a lot of responsibility comes with it too. So I think you have to be strong enough to hold that responsibility if you want to go in the field ahead.
Good. So that's about the NEET UG part. So talking about the fourth year, so how was the whole fourth year? And you're also preparing for NEET during this year, right?
So in my fourth year, the lockdown had just opened up. So we had our classes again, and we had our clinical rotations in the fourth year, which we had missed out in the third year. So in the mornings, we used to attend those rotations, and then I used to come back and study for the NEET PG examination. So that's when I think I did my clinical subjects in the fourth year.
Okay.
The medicine, surgery, obs, gynec, those subjects.
Good. So if I had to ask you in terms of which particular years are very important for NEET PG, which one would you like to say?
I would say that, of course, the internship year is when you consolidate all your preparation in one place, and that's when you do the most MCQ practice, the test practice. But I feel that if you have had a base from the first year itself, it definitely helps you in that internship year, especially if you're in a college with heavy duties. So when time itself is a constraint. So if your concepts are clear, if your notes are more or less made, and if you have a good idea of the subjects, it will really help you in your internship year to prepare for NEET properly.
And the fifth year is quite hectic. There's a lot of things that you can do in fifth year as well. So how do you manage your time and studies together?
So in internship, it was really difficult at first to strike that balance between doing your duties well and then also coming back and studying seriously for the examination. But I feel that slowly, by having the right environment, you can and the right routine, you can get into that habit of doing both in a day. So personally, I used to like to go to the library after the duties, because if I went home, I just used to doze off. And I also feel that having a right group of friends really helps you in that journey. Actually, I have had the pleasure of having a very, very good friend circle with me. All of us were doing our internship together and preparing for NEET, so we really helped each other out in the whole process. We used to, whenever we used to get tired from our duties, we used to sit and discuss grand tests, and we used to teach each other topics as well. So those interactions really helped me keep my motivation up during the times I felt really tired juggling multiple things together.
Okay, so that's actually a good point. Like group studies will help you a lot as
Yes.
well. So in terms of the preparation for NEET, you mentioned that you're preparing from the third year itself. The notes from the first year till the last year, how important are those, and what are the things that you usually prepare for the notes?
The notes are your main source of preparation, I feel. A lot of them based theirs on the textbook as well, but personally I use the notes for reading till the end. That was my main source of preparation. I started making my notes in the lockdown year, that is my third year, and that's when I made the notes of the subjects I was studying for my university exams as such. So I made the notes of my third year, and along with that I also made the notes of medicine through various online platforms. And because it was all closed down, right, in the lockdown. And in my final year of MBBS, I made the notes of my remaining clinical subjects. And as my internship started, I made the notes of my first and second year. So half of my internship went away in just making the notes.
Okay.
I feel if you had them prepared, it would have been better for me. But yeah, that's how it ended up being.
So I think that's one important tip, that you have to prepare notes since
Yes.
the start of your MBBS for specifically for NEET PG.
Yeah, I feel if you have, even if you read from the textbooks, if you prepare handmade notes from the textbooks, I feel it gets easier to revise, and it gets easier to put things in place if you have a ready-made set of notes.
In terms of each subject that you study, what books did you prefer for each and every subject? Would you be able to list it down?
Yeah, okay. So for anatomy, if we start with the first year, we have anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry. So for anatomy, I read B.D. Chaurasya. A lot of the subjects I actually read the Indian authors because that's the trend in our college, and I felt they were easier to understand. The foreign authors I referred for images or for when I couldn't understand some aspect from the books of the Indian authors. So for anatomy, I did B.D. Chaurasya, and I saw images from Grays and Etters. I think those were really, really fascinating to see. And for anatomy, I think the dissection hall and the practicals that our college conducted also really helped. Because when somebody teaches you some topic from a real skull and shows you the foramens of the skulls, they have a very big visual imprint on your memory. So anatomy was one subject I really studied well in my first year. So it really helped me at the end when I was preparing my notes in the internship. I didn't have to spend more time in anatomy because I already had my concepts in place.
So that's about the first year.
Yeah. For physiology, so there's just one subject.
Yeah.
Physiology I did from Indu Khurana, that's a Indian author book again. And for CNS, I referred to my teacher's notes. And for Guyton, I think I referred to for just CNS. And for biochemistry, I did from Satyanarayan, another book. Yeah.
So those are for the first year. For second year?
Second year, as I said, I studied a little less in the second year, but I think those, I would not recommend that to my juniors. I would ask them to strike a balance between both, because I think the subjects of the second year form the basis of medicine and surgery and all your clinical subjects. So for pathology, I personally used Robbins for the general path, and for systemic path, I didn't have time to do Robbins, although I love the book, but I did it from Ramdas Nayak, which was another book by an Indian author. For pharmacology, I used K.D. Tripathi. And for microbiology, I use Apurva Shastri, and I would really highly recommend this book because I personally found it amazing. Great pictures and really concise. For forensic medicine, I used Reddy, but I hadn't read it really well in second year. I think I understood FM forensic medicine when I read it from my notes from other platforms. And third year of ENT and PSM. For PSM, I think that's the most important subject for the third year. I was always really interested in PSM because I had done research earlier, so I had that background of epidemiology and biostats, so I found it really fascinating. So I studied PARC for PSM, and for ENT and Ophthal, I did it mainly from online notes only. But just the important questions, I read it from Dhingra, that's the book for ENT, and Khurana, that's the book for ophthalmology.
Okay, so that's for third year.
Yeah.
And fourth year? Final
year, I was predominantly read from my notes. I had made it through Marrow, and I had finished off medicine in the third year itself. And Dr. Rakesh Nair sir's videos were boon to watch for me because I really enjoyed his style of teaching. After that, so in final year, I depended mostly from the notes. I also read the textbooks before my university examination, but I used textbooks like Bulur for medicine, SRB for surgery, Ghai for pediatrics, and Datta for gynecology. I didn't use the standard Love and Bailey and Harrison because I somehow couldn't understand it much. Okay. And I didn't have the time actually also to read it, although I've heard they are amazing books. And I only read the parts which were, asked in the examination from a university examination point of view. Basically, I didn't read the entire textbook. I just read those important questions from there.
To sum it up, like the revision part is very important.
Yes.
And also you had mentioned about the grand tests that you have taken a lot of them. So let's talk about the revision part. How do you revise everything from the class 1, like the first year till the 5th year?
Okay, revisions, I think I started, I feel that in your year itself, when you are first year preparing your notes, right? Before your examinations, you have continuous examinations from your college. So I think if you follow that a little, you'll get 3 revisions of every subject in that year itself. So that really helps you remember them in the long term. So in the end, you just are left with rereading the whole thing once, right? If you have your basics correct. So in every year, I think once we made the notes and read it, once we revised before the preliminary examinations, and once we revised before the final examinations. So most of the subjects, 3 revisions were done in your 4 years itself. But in my internship year, so that's why in my internship year, I could only get 2 revisions of all the subjects. But that was enough for me because in my years of preparation, I had already done a significant amount of revision for each subject.
Okay, so that suffices your complete revision part.
Yeah.
Now, going for the grand test, would you suggest that you should give your individual test as well, like class 1, 2, 3, and then all together, or how do you suggest it?
A lot of people, after completing a subject, they give the test for that subject, and they do MCQs for that subject. But personally, I didn't focus on giving the test after the subject much. Couple of subjects after I completed it, I gave the test. But grand test is something I would really focus on. Because that's something I started giving in my internship year, and I gave 1 grand test after every 2 weeks, and at the end of my preparation I gave 1 after a week. And the last 15 days, of course, I didn't give any test.
Okay.
So, but the grand tests, I feel a lot of people have this common misconception that it is a way to test your theory. But I feel that is not true. Grand test is itself a different skill that you have to learn and master, because it teaches you how to give a test more than actually testing your theory skills. So when you give multiple grand tests, you get that intuition on how to solve questions, what they are trying to ask from you, how to rule out options. And even if you have not studied a topic, if you answer a question of that topic, you can understand how to approach questions whose knowledge you don't have. Because even in the day of the examination, there'll be questions which we have not heard before. So if you start giving grand tests from where you are not strong in theory, you'll get to know how to attempt those questions. And you'll also be able to form your test day strategy by giving repeated grand tests. You will know how many questions to leave, how much time to give in reviewing tests, etc. So, and of course, it will help you form a direction in your preparation. You will realize which subjects you are weak in, which subjects need more revisions. That will guide your preparation. So after 1 revisions, you can start focusing on the subjects that you are weak in the grand tests and revise those first, and then continue with your remaining revisions.
Okay. So when you gave your first grand test, what was the score that you had achieved?
I had a score of 134, I think, correct, out of 200. And I think my rank was somewhere in the 3000s, 4000s.
Okay.
So that's where I started. I gave it March 2022. That's where I gave my first grand test.
And what was the score in the last grand test?
Last grand test, I think, was the NEET mock that I had attempted. And in that, I got a 172 or 173 score, I think. And a rank of around 53 or 54, like that, yeah.
So would you attempt all the questions, or it's wise to leave the question that you don't know?
I think you can form your own personal strategy by doing repeated grand tests. But I personally was always an aggressive attempter. I attempted all the questions in NEET PG because that worked for me in the tests that I had practiced before. It was consistently showing that I had a good guessing intuition, is what I realized. So I took that chance in NEET as well. And I think there were about 40 questions which I was confused in, and maybe 8 to 10 questions which I had probably little to no clue about. But I had a certain sense that maybe this could be the answer. So I attempted all of the questions. And overall, I felt that out of those 8 questions, even if I got a good few correct, I would go in a positive score. So NEET usually rewards you for being aggressive.
So basically, out of 200 marks, you had attempted almost all of them.
Yes.
And then the 8 questions also helped you in terms of a little bit extra marks. There might be some of the topic that you find difficult during the preparation. So is it wise to leave it off, or it's better to prepare them completely?
Even if you do like 3 revisions of a topic, you can be comfortable enough in the subject. So I would ask the aspirants to not give up on the topic that they are difficult, that they think is too vast to handle or too difficult. I would ask them to maybe give a little more time to that topic and try to understand it. because a lot of the times after you revise it once and again revise it again, and then you get the hang of the topic. So because initially I also felt that I would never understand pharmacology, but after 3 readings at the end, I was quite confident in the subject. So I think it will help if you maybe not give too much time to it, also focus on your strengths, but you shouldn't give up a topic from the start just because you feel you won't be able to handle it.
So we'll talk about the exam day. Basically, a lot of it depends on the exam day as well. Your mindset and the way you carry forward yourself matters a lot. So how is it a day before the exam and also on the exam?
I think this is a very important aspect of your preparation. Along with preparing yourself to read all the subjects, I think another active preparations that helped me, and I would recommend all of the people to do, especially those who get a little anxious, is to actively prepare yourself to be positive on the day of the examination. All of the aspirants will be anxious a week before. None of us can actually have a good night's sleep in that week before the exam. But I feel in that moment, you have to learn to deal with that anxiety and that stress, which is bound to come. And actually try to counter that with maybe meditating. That's what I tried in the last week. Try to talk to your family, to your friends, and ask them to give you positive affirmations that everything will happen for the best. And even motivate yourself. I used to just, stride in my room giving pep talks to myself to tell myself that, you have done your best, and now you have done your job, and now it's no point being stressed about the outcome. So I think actively dealing with that will also help you prepare your mind for the day of the exam. Because on the day when you get up, you're already, tachycardic, you are sweating, and you are very anxious. So we have to actively try to make that mindset into a positive one. So in that hour you get before the computer screen and you're looking at the timer, count down the time for the exam that you have prepared 3 years for, your mindset can make or break your game, I feel. So in that time, if you have practiced how to deal with anxiety, it really helps on the day of the exam. So that's when I knew how to deal with my emotions, and I gave a lot of positive affirmations to myself. I chanted, I meditated, I trained for that as well. So I think that really helped me get that little extra in the test, because when you are confident and positive and even a little excited to start the test, you are very confident in your attempts at the questions. So you don't second guess yourself much. You try to attempt everything that you can. Your distant memory also opens up from somewhere, I don't know. So I remembered few things that I'd read in my textbook, 3 years ago, from some question from my ENT textbook came up. I remembered something, and I remember my tutor had said in second year somewhere back. So you can allow yourself to be your maximum and most concentrated and focused self if you are in the right mindset before the exam.
Alright, so all the exam anxiety and everything that you face on that particular day, even looking at other people, like the competitors of yourself, can be vanished with this particular technique.
Exactly.
Good. So how was your whole exam time period, and were you able to get all the answers properly correct, and any hiccups that you had on that particular day?
I was lucky enough to not have any major hiccups on that day. A lot of my friends experienced some issues with their computer systems or their venues, but I was lucky enough to not have experienced that. But during the exam, I attempted all the questions, as I said. I spent I think 40 to 50 minutes in reviewing the questions. The rest of it I spent in attempting all the questions. I think this time the exams the questions were more clinically based and a little more in-depth questions were asked. So I gave my time for each question. And in the last 40 to 50 minutes, I reviewed the 40 questions that I had marked before for review.
Okay, cool. So you spoke about the clinical questions. So I want to ask about INSCET and NEET PG. What's the difference between them, and what's the ideal way for preparation for each of the exam?
So NEET PG usually asks more one-liner questions and more stats-based questions. But this year we also saw it. We have seen it actually evolve into a more clinical paper as well. But INICET is known for asking really long stem questions which require you to think more in depth, which have multiple answers correct, which have different forms of which they give you video questions and image based questions. So they test a lot of your different faculties while giving the paper, and it's also a little higher difficulty, but it's also a more strategizable paper because they ask a lot of repeats from their previously asked topics. So I think you can prepare for that if you actually research on the questions that they have asked before and solve the previous year questions. And also NEET rewards you more for aggressively attempting. It's plus 4 minus 1, while INI set is plus 1 minus 1/3.
Yeah.
So it is wise to leave a couple of questions in INI set maybe.
So basically, there's one particular thought that a lot of people do get, that those who are in the higher level college or the better colleges, they have a better chance of clearing NEET exam or INI set. So what's your thought on that?
I personally belong to the Baroda Medical College in my city, and that is definitely a good college, but it doesn't come in the top tier colleges that, the Mansi and AIMS, etc. But I feel that everybody has an equal chance of getting to their dream college, because this exam, personally, I was very immature in undergraduation, and I think a lot of the aspirants during their undergraduation have not trained their brain to give exam of such caliber. But in your MBBS years, you can definitely grow to be the person who attempt such exam and get a really good grade in such an exam. And at the end, it just matters how much you work hard and how much concepts you have clear, and that you have so many sources to study from. Initially, only good colleges had good teachers, and only they could afford good resources to study. But now resources are available from that, the tip of your fingers, literally. So everybody has access to all these resources. Everybody is smart enough. So I feel you just have to work hard and prepare in the right direction. And it's anybody's game. If I can do it, you can too. That's
the number of seats on NEET PG or even INS set is kind of limited, and there are a lot of doctors who prepare for this examination every year, day in day out. So a lot of people might be able to crack it, but some of them might not be able to crack it. If they have to give a second attempt or a third attempt, is it okay, or they can continue, or like what kind of mindset should they carry?
I think if you haven't been able to crack NEET in the first attempt, definitely so many of my friends and so many people, they give another attempt for the examination, because a lot of the times while doing your internship or during your college, maybe you haven't had the time or the right environment to study for the exam. But I feel if you have a dedicated year of studying and you have your goals set, you have your targets in place, you know the direction in which you have to prepare and have that motivation, anybody can give this exam and can actually really succeed. There are so many success stories of people who have cracked it amazingly in their second attempts as well. So, but the first thing that, that is a common quote, that you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. So I feel that you don't have to rule yourself from the beginning. You rule yourself out from the beginning. If you think you can do it, and then you will automatically formulate the right steps that you need to reach that destination, and you will work accordingly. But for that, you have to believe that you can do it, irrespective from your college, which college you are from, irrespective of when you are starting a preparation. So I think if you have the right mindset, you can do anything.
Great. So I think that's a very positive thought for a lot of people who are preparing for the second time as well. When you got the result, how's the moment at home? So did you see the result, or did someone else announce the result to you?
So I saw the result, and it was surreal. It was absolutely surreal. I was shaking literally. And I ran to my mom and I asked her to check it again. I called my sister up. I asked her to check it. I asked my father to check it also. So I couldn't believe when I saw a double-digit rank. I was expecting a good rank, but I was definitely not expecting a double-digit rank. And I was really, really excited and happy and just feeling very grateful all at once.
That's great. So you mentioned about a lot of your friends who prepared along with you, and you had a group study as well.
Yes.
So, and also your parents play a lot of support in this.
Definitely.
So it's just not about your own examination, it's also a test of them as well. So any particular message that you would like to give them?
Yeah, I would just like to, I cannot express how grateful I am to my family, to my friends. My family, my mom, my dad, my sister, they have been like the support system from the very beginning. They are also doctors, so they have seen this journey. They have also done MBBS themselves, so they could give me a lot of good insight on how it should be, and they could also really help me out in my low times by telling me that this is okay to be stressed, it is, and how to deal with that emotion as well. So they've always been my pillars. My sister, who was 7 years elder to me, so I can see her journey and learn from it. She's my idol, I replicate her in every way I can. So that has been really helpful. And I was very lucky to have an amazing group of friends. I would like to take their names if you do. Yeah. Sure. So Akash, Prem, Santosh, Ravish, Manan, Srishti, Tanushka, Asta. They're like so many people, but we all used to study together and we had a great rapport. And whenever this is such an exam that, you can all come together and build each other up and be great together. So I think that is a great opportunity. So we all discussed doubts. After each grand test, we used to sit in the canteen and discuss that grand test. And all of my friends also themselves have got such amazing ranks. I think you'll be taking many of their interviews as well after
Definitely.
me. And there are also some friends who are not from the same background as me, maybe like Aparna, Athar, Ruchit, who are not even pursuing medicine or were different country, but they also helped me emotionally. So I feel it's not just one person's work to do well. I think so many people have played such an important impact in your life, and I think this is a time I feel really grateful to have such positive people around me.
That's great. That's great. So we spoke a lot about the examination part and also the result part. Now a little bit something about you. We'll have a small rapid fire round,
Okay.
and post that we'll go for the further questions. So let's start the rapid fire round. Couple of questions, you'll have to answer very rapidly. So first of all, what's your most favorite part of the body?
The brain, for sure. I've always been fascinated by it. Whichever subject I study, the part in which the brain comes, I get really excited. So for neuroanatomy, physio, CNS, so yeah, that's my favorite part.
That's it. So what's that movie that everyone has watched but you haven't watched it yet?
Okay, I think the recent most that I remember, RRR, I haven't watched it yet, but everybody is all the buzz about it, so I'll have to watch
Yeah.
it.
What is something that most people do easily but you find it very difficult?
Probably being self-motivated and working hard consistently. That's a big challenge for me. So I have to find external sources to motivate me.
Okay. So if there's an app that you hate but you use anyways, which app is that?
Too many. All the social media apps, I feel really bad wasting my time on them, but I use them anyway. So Instagram,
Okay.
etc.
When things break, would you like to fix them or would you prefer to replace them?
Definitely fix them.
Okay. And what are you looking for in the next forward 10 years?
I just hope I can even if I make a positive impact on a couple of people's life, I'll be very grateful for that. As a doctor, as a friend, I just want to make a positive impact on people.
Okay. What's the most important object that you own and you can't live without it?
Most important object that I own and I cannot live without. All these are really difficult questions. I'm not good at this. I don't think I have something which is that irreplaceable, but I think family is something that is definitely replaceable. Is family and friends. I cannot
Okay.
live without them.
Cool. So your most favorite food?
I'm a big foodie, but I love Italian food. I love Chinese food, and in Indian also, I love pav bhaji.
Okay. So any one particular location that you would like to visit in the coming year?
I've always been fascinated by Northern Lights. I would love to visit Scandinavia and see the Northern Lights. That's my the dream. Yeah.
Okay. So would you prefer hanging out with friends or being indoor and have a good time with friends?
I prefer hanging out with friends. Yeah.
Cool. So just last question. If you'd like to meet some idol or any celebrity or any friend, who would that be?
Growing up, I think idolized my grandparents. Actually, were my idols. So I would like to chat with them again and ask them about how do they think of my life as it's progressing, because they've always been my idols when I was growing up. Both my sides of my grandparents who are
Cool.
not here now, but yeah.
Cool. So thank you so much for the answers. We had a wonderful time. And
Thank
we have a
you.
small gift of hamper from Unacademy
Thank you
and
so
Camera
much.
TV Toppers team. So if you'd like to tag one other topper, who would you like them to share their story, who would that be?
So I think I would tag my friend Dr. Santosh Iyer. We had a very similar study pattern and we used to study together throughout these years, and he has secured a rank 216 in NEET PG examinations as well. So yeah, that will
Cool.
be
We'll try to contact him as well and then have an interview with him.
Sure,
So
fine.
if you had one particular message that you would like to give to all the aspirants, what would that be?
I would like to say a quote that my mom really hammered into me. That's by Wayne Dyer. And he says that the state of your life reflects the state of your mind. So I feel that if you have your thoughts in place, you can form your destiny. So I would urge everybody that you are all capable of doing whatever you want to do. Just believe that in yourself and take the necessary steps that you require to reach there. Trust the process. If you come across any hurdles, don't take them up as setbacks, but take them up as opportunities to learn. And I just wish you all the very best for becoming whatever you want to in life.
I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of the students will learn from your strategy, your journey about the NEET PG and many other things that you spoke in the interview. And thank you so much, and we wish you good luck in your future.
Thank you so much.